Alright then, let's go ahead and get started. That's right. Sorry, Sunshine Coastline, you have to end a little early today. As we get started with Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Ha ha ha. Alright, now that we're all set and ready to go here, good morning, everyone. It feels so weird to say that, but good morning and welcome to another episode of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. It's me, your host, Logic Blade, and we are back, ready to kick it for the third day in a row. And I haven't streamed like this in a while. It's great. So, last time around, we finished up case 1.2. Holy crap! I got double hit by spam bots. That's impressive. So annoying to ban them on OBS. Get out of here! Get out of here! All right, bots are out of here. We're ready to go. Let's go play some video games. Also, hello Grumpy. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a lovely day today. Last time around we finished up case 1-2, the case of the mysterious speckled band, and we discovered the truth of Cosmo's death. As it turns out, it was just a tragic accident. Really sad way to go. And I was just like, well, fuck, I wanted Cosmo Sogi to be here, but I guess not. So, here we are in episode 3, The Adventure of the Runaway Room. Hey Flanker, welcome to the stream. Gotta let it run while you fix dinner? That's fair.
Glancing over my records of the late last century,
nice, Grumpy.
I am faced by the events of a certain bitter winter. A murder in a carriage as it sped through dense London fog in the dead of night. Though the victim and the perpetrator were the only ones inside, there were multiple witnesses to the crime itself. However, none could have imagined at the time that such a seemingly obvious case as this would end in such a horrendous manner. My friend, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, once said of the incident, "I believe that perhaps that case was indeed the prelude. The beginning of a long concerto that impressive Japanese student and I were to play together."
Ooh, we got more anime cutscenes. That's nice.
Amazing. Is this really just a railway station?
Railway station or not, I've never seen such an enormous building before.
And look at all the steam locomotives. This country is incredible.
Please tell me we get that outfit for Susato. It's so cute. I also like the Ryunosuke cosplay that Ryunosuke is pulling off right now.
Like I'm dreaming.
So this is the capital of Great Britain.
Yep, we're finally in Britain. It only took us
Where to?
2 cases to finish.
Climb aboard. I'll take you wherever you want to go.
In that case, the Supreme Court in Whitehall, if you wouldn't mind.
My pleasure. I suppose you're visiting students from abroad, eh?
Yes.
Thought so. Well then, I hope you enjoy your stay. And welcome to the centre of the world, Great Britain's mighty capital, London.
Oh, I'm very happy we can speak English just fine, with a British accent to boot. Blimey. Just don't ask me to do it all the time. I really can't keep it up for very long. 18th of February, 9:21 a.m. British Supreme Court. Lord Chief Justice's office. Oh, she's back in her kimono. I guess we don't get her traveling outfit for this scene. Is his office in Big Ben? It sure looks like it. Holy crap. I love it, though. I mean, when you think of London, Big Ben is probably the second thing you think of. The first thing you think of is fish and chips. And this clearly covers the second thing I was thinking of. What an incredible place. It's so imposing. It's almost suffocating. This place is breathtaking. It looks like a fortress. There are some stone buildings like this in Japan now, of course, but they've only been built in the few short decades since we opened our borders to the outside world. An authentic example like this has quite a different impact, wouldn't you agree? A far cry from the wood and paper most of our buildings are constructed from. It's certainly unfamiliar. But I think there's more to the differences than just construction materials. What is this place again? This is the Lord Chief Justice's office, Naruhodo-san, in the Supreme Court of Great Britain. The Lord Chief Justice. We had instructions to report here at this time if circumstances were different. We were supposed to let the Lord Chief Justice know that we had arrived from Japan. But Kazuma can't. No. So instead, we are here in a different capacity, as envoys to report the news of Kazuma-sama's death. Yes. And having delivered his or her message, an envoy's duty is done. So, we'd have to return to Japan. If we want to remain here in Great Britain, I have to take Kazuma's place as the law student selected for the study tour. Did we pass the bar? I don't know, I guess we're gonna find out. Yes, which means you need the requisite qualifications as a lawyer, which is what I've been studying for. Here in Great Britain, it is the Lord Chief Justice who appoints lawyers. So that's the second reason why we're here, to have you officially recognized as a lawyer. It's the only way that we'll be able to remain here in London. Yeah, we studied for a month. We studied for 40 whole days. That's like a month and like a week and a half. It's perfect. We're fine. I hope I'm up to scratch. Ah, good morning. Sorry for keeping you. Oh. I trust you aren't too exhausted after your long voyage from Japan. It seems I'm 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 47 seconds late. My apologies. Oh, no, don't mention it. We got ourselves off of murder, so that has to count as bonus points. We're never happier than when we're standing around with nothing much to do. How fortunate. Dude, it's Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. I don't know about that. So, instructions. I'm Miles Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of the British Empire. Now I feel like a little mouse under an elephant's foot. Come on, Mr. Naruhodo, don't be a mouse. Oh, it's an honor to meet you, Lord Chief Justice Strongheart. I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan. Well, Mr. Naruhodo. Welcome to London, the capital of our glorious British Empire. He looks like a JoJo character, just saying. No, I feel ya. He's got the face lines that, like, make JoJo characters. Yes, thank you. Now behold my stand, the world. Okay, first thing you gotta do. Oh, we don't have our university pin anymore. It's an armband now. Alright. Lord Strongheart, may I show you this? To To accept this item, issue a receipt, examine it thoroughly, and make a formal statement of my findings. Would require something in the region of 24 seconds of my time. Sorry. Does the item warrant 24 seconds of my time, Mr. Naruhodo? Let's leave it for now. Oh my god. It was me, Strongheart. Nani? So, what are your impressions of our capital so far? How do you like London? Oh, help? I've been so nervous ever since I got here that I can't remember a single thing about the city. It's simply splendid, isn't it, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh. We had a wonderful view of some of London's streets from the carriage on the way here from the station. Everything is so impressive and grand. I must say I'm almost lost for words. For a guy that's so time-happy, I'm surprised he rolled in late. That's because, you know, he does what he wants. I'm glad to hear that you like it. The city boasts tramways, piped water and gas, even cables supplying electricity. We spearheaded every revolutionary new technology in the world. Every visitor to London is astounded. Oh, yes, astounded is the word. Thanks for saving me there, Suzato-san. And everyone seems so jolly and full of vigor. Yes. There's much excitement about the upcoming great exhibition we will be hosting here in London. Great exhibition? Cultural and technological achievements from around the globe are to be exhibited here in our great city. It will be the greatest spectacle of its kind in history, and will make Paris's World Fair look like a toy shop. Gosh, I can hardly imagine how magnificent it's going to be. Great Britain's capital city is nothing but magnificent. London is the center of the modern world. Even if you do say so yourself. Ah, the World Fair. Once upon a time, remember when that was a big deal? The sun will never set on our great empire. Perhaps it is fate that in these progressive times we welcome visitors from the land of the rising sun. This was Victorian London's highest achievement, I have to say. It should still be. Yeah. I think that's fair. It's more just like, yeah, like a con now. Except nobody's going to cons right now. Well, nobody should be going to cons right now. Maybe in a few more months. Maybe. Lord Chief Justice. I think you were expecting a student of law for the study tour, weren't you? Absolutely. A Mr. Kazuma Asogi, if my memory serves. That's right. The British government has already been telegraphed a full report on the situation. I understand the young man lost his life aboard the steamship bound for our shores. That's amazing. The news reached him before we even arrived. My country naturally extends its deepest condolences to yours. Oh, thank you. And you honored this appointment specifically to inform me of the news. Yes. We are here in the capacity of envoys from Japan to report the sad news in person. They tell me you Japanese are people of protocol and courtesy, and I see that's true. And it is with some regret that I must inform you that the death of the young lawyer means this study tour arrangement can no longer proceed. If you would just hear us out, Lord Strongheart. Can't believe we lost Bandana, bro. But that's very Ace Attorney. Same thing happened with your boss in the first game. Yep. What do you have to say, madame? It's about the study tour. Mr. Naruhodo here would like to make a proposal. Would he now? Well, Mr. Naruhodo. This is it then. The moment of truth. Well, that's what happens when you have a spirit medium. Nobody ever really dead. You can just channel all your dead victims, right? And Phoenix didn't die for Apollo. No, he sure did not. The thing is, Lord Justice, Lord Strongheart, I was wondering if perhaps you would consider allowing the study tour to go ahead. Don't misunderstand me. Britain would ideally like to see the tour go ahead. But without a lawyer from your country, there's nothing to be done. Well, in that case, what if there was someone else? Another lawyer from Japan, I mean. Is there something I don't know? Only a single lawyer was invited to Great Britain from your country, and that was Mr. Asogi. At least, that is what I have been led to understand. Well, the thing is, this really isn't going well at all. I just can't seem to find the right words to say to this man. Mr. Naruhodo? I could ruin things here if I'm not careful. What am I gonna say? If there's someone else here from Japan who could be described as a lawyer, it's... Actually, there's no one. It's Miss Susato. It's me. Oh my god. No, I don't want to do the wrong choices. As much as, you know, I'm sure it'd be hilarious. It's me. I can do it. Is that so? I mean, I don't actually have any qualifications as such, but... No qualifications, you say? And yet you still claim to be a lawyer. I've acted as a lawyer in court before. Only once, as it happens. And I had Kazuma to help me, and I was the accused, but glossing over the details. I've been spending every spare moment on the journey here to Great Britain studying. I've learned all about British law and court proceedings while I was on board the SS Burya. The voyage from Japan is some 50 days, I believe. Not what you might call a full education. To become a qualified lawyer here in Britain, not only do you need a university degree in law, you must also complete several years of training. I realize it's far too short a period of time, but I can't just go back to Japan. Kazuma, Mr. Asogi's journey had only just begun. Coming here on the study tour was all he thought about. I have to carry on and do everything he planned to do. I know it must sound like I have an overly inflated opinion of myself, but I would do anything to prove that I have what it takes. Any test you care to set me. Just one chance. That's all I'm asking for. Please. 31 seconds. Sorry. Your opening statement there, Mr. Naruhodo. It was 31 seconds long. Not too brief, not too protracted. A perfectly judged appeal, I would say. Which is a skill that would stand you in good stead as a lawyer. Oh, thanks. So, you're willing to put those words to trial, are you? Well, I'm all for entertainment. Huh? But let me ask you one thing first, sir. Yes? You say you intend to do everything Mr. Asogi planned to do. Are you firmly set on that path? Well, yes, that's my intention. I see. Am I imagining things? Or did his expression just alter a fraction there all of a sudden? If this dude isn't like the final boss, I don't know who is. Very well. You have your wish. I'll give you a chance. A test to become a specially certified lawyer. Whether you pass or fail is entirely down to you. Really? Alright, let's find out what this test is. So, what form will the test take exactly? Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, what do you consider the role of a lawyer to be? Well, defending people, of course. Well said. So, let's have you defend someone. Huh? Your timing is perfect, in fact. There's an apt trial about to begin later today. No advocate has been appointed for the defense as of yet, so this will be welcome news. Today? Straight away? If you manage to secure a verdict of not guilty, you'll have passed my test. What could be simpler? How do I get myself into these situations? Well, could I ask, what sort of trial is it, Lord Strongheart? Yes, good question. Ah, I remember. It's a murder trial. A murder? An extremely simple case, I understand. You really can't lose. That's easy to say. But I should mention, just in case, if the defendant is found guilty, he will of course be sentenced to capital punishment. Capital punishment? He'll be put to death? Here in Great Britain, murderers are sent to the gallows without exception. This is the Persona 4 Dell comic all over again. Who wants to talk about murder? Presumably you read that much in your short C-based introduction to British law. We can't possibly agree to such a test. We would be toying with a man's life. I am the Lord Chief Justice, and I've decided it's acceptable. But you can't do that, can you? There's no need to overcomplicate this. All you have to do is ensure that you don't lose. So, the defendant may live or die, depending on how well I perform in court. If I lose, he'll be hanged. Mr. Naruhodo, you've come to me claiming to be a lawyer. If you want me to take you seriously, you need to prove you're willing to do a lawyer's job. And you say you intend to see through the will of your compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would like to understand just how far you're willing to go in order to make that happen. He's testing my resolve. What's the matter? You've fallen silent. I'm sorry, but time is pressing. The trial begins shortly. I need an answer from you now. What's it to be? What do I say? Do I agree to this absurd test? I mean, we have to. This is a but thou must. I'm gonna leave Lady to find out what happens when you take the bad choices. Alright then. If I have to give you a decision now, my answer is I can't do it. I can't get the words out. 15 seconds. Your decision-making needs work if you want to be a lawyer. That was far too slow. So, it's as I suspected, is it? Sorry. You have noble intentions, but lack the resolve to see them through. The test is cancelled. Thank you for stopping by. Go and acquire your ticket for passage back to the east tomorrow. This conversation is over. Yes, Lord Strongheart. Thank you for offering me a chance. Mr. Naruhodo. I'm sorry, Miss Susato, but what could I do? It's alright. I understand. You do? It's not an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances. But resolve has absolutely nothing to do with it. What are you trying to say, madame? I think what Miss Susato means is that no matter how badly I'd like to be recognized as a lawyer and stay here in Great Britain, to risk another man's life by treating his one and only chance at a trial so trivially would be utterly unforgivable, and I feel exactly the same way. I'm sure the defendant won't see this trial as a test, as some kind of experiment. A lawyer may fight for his clients in court day after day, but for each one of those clients, the particular day they stand in the dock may be the only chance they have to fight to prove their innocence. No, I was wrong. I'm not qualified to do that job yet. I'm sorry for wasting your precious time, Lord Chief Justice. Wait, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, was there something else? It's approximately 20 minutes by carriage to the Old Bailey from here. If you leave immediately, you should still be there in time. But I just said that... I was quite serious in what I told you. The defendant in this case has literally no one to advocate for him. What? At this point, he can't hope to find someone to represent him. The trial will begin without a defense. And if that happens, there's only one possible outcome. He will receive the most severe sentence the judge can pass down. But that's awful. But that is the truth. Why does it have to be like this? Please, don't expect an answer to every question. The cold, hard truth of the matter is that there is only one person now with a chance to save this man from a very miserable end. And that is you. I'm really his only hope. So, what do you say now, madame? Me? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? You said it wasn't an easy decision to choose whether to defend a man in these circumstances, and I agree. But in my estimation, it is purely and simply a matter of resolve. Oh. Our time is up here. I have a meeting to attend. I must leave in 2 minutes and 16 seconds. So, venture into our great city and enjoy yourselves. He's gone. The Old Bailey. If we're gonna do this, Mr. Naruhodo, we must leave at once. Miss Susato, can I just ask you something? Careful. From this position, I can perform a Susato takedown in an instant. I know. Mr. Naruhodo, you heard Lord Strongheart. The trial starts imminently. If I need to throw you, I will. You know, you could just say, I think we should hurry to the courtroom. If you need to ask me anything, it had better wait until we're at the Old Bailey. Hey, you want to check out my armband? Aw, damn it. Alright, that was worth a try, right? To the Old Bailey we go. The 18th of February, 9:45 a.m. The Old Bailey. Defendant's antechamber, number 5. Number 1. Nope, just the defendant's antechamber. Oh, thank goodness we're in time. There's still 15 minutes until the trial begins. I never knew a horse-drawn carriage could go so fast. I thought my teeth were gonna rattle loose. Did you hear what I said to the driver when we climbed aboard? Get us to our destination in 5 minutes, driver, and there's a guinea in it for you. It's one of my favorite lines from the Herlock Sholmes' stories, and it worked quite perfectly. I'm not sure why you're so pleased. I thought we were gonna die, and we had to pay gold for the privilege. Should've took notes for that. Yeah, Susato's funny like that. Well, at least we arrived here before the trial started. Yes, I suppose there's that. Anyway, I don't understand it. The court clerk said the defendant should be here, but there's no sign of him at all. So, this is the Old Bailey? Even this room for defendants to wait in is grand. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm feeling tense, that's all. This place gives me the same sense of foreboding that I remember from the Supreme Court in Japan. An oppressive air, almost as if the building itself is going to crush whoever is about to be sentenced. Feels like only yesterday that I was the one about to be crushed. Yes, whoever the man you're to defend is, I imagine he's feeling very alone at this moment. Top of the morning to you, madame. Sir. What are you doing following me here? Things are fair desperate, are they? Sorry? Would you look at those expressionless faces? From the east, are yous? We're from Japan, yes. Ah, Japan is it? Right, say no more. So, how much does you need? No, we're just here because... No need to explain, fella. I've been there myself, so I have. No place to go, nothing to eat, barely a penny to your name, no while in a strange faraway land. Well, actually, we haven't found a place to stay yet, no. 'Tis grand, 'tis grand. Let me start by giving yous 1,000 guineas. Say nothing now. 1,000 guineas? Please, Mrs. Otto, you don't have to shout. But 1,000 guineas is enough to build an entire mansion in the most prestigious area of Tokyo. What? Tis nothing to me at all. I like to ensure I have sufficient funds to weather a rainy day, you see. I've enough wealth to buy the city of London 2 or 3 times over. That much rain even fall in one day? Yeah, this is definitely a scam. This dude's trying to sell us a bridge. Well, even so, we couldn't possibly accept such a large sum of money. Ah! That hit me in the eye! Don't get me wrong, fella. I'm not giving you no strings attached. I'll be wanting you to do something for me. Oh? To be honest, it's a little embarrassing. The trial that's about to begin, you see, is for me good self here. I'll be in the dock. So now, what I want you to do is come along with me and stand there beside me. Officially, you'd be my lawyer, but that's just a little detail now. Oh, well, the thing is, don't worry about the thing. All you have to do is stand up there next to me, nothing more. Otherwise, you see, the trial's gonna start without me having any kind of representation at all. So it was true. The Lord Chief Justice wasn't just making it all up. I'm terribly sorry to have to ask, but does that mean you're the defendant in this trial? Bluster and blazes! Do yous not know who I am? Me, one of London's biggest names. No, sorry, we've only just arrived in the city, you see. Oh, I see. I suppose it isn't altogether impossible. Well, just next to Hyde Park there in the centre of London is another beautiful park. Sorry? A park? What? 'Tis called McGilded Park, full of blossoming flowers in the spring and singing birds and whatnot. I donated it to the city, so I did. An entire park? In central London? A city of smiles, that's my vision for London. There's nothing Magnus McGilded wouldn't do for the city and its queer old people. That's amazing. I mean, really extraordinary. Ah, but now they've the gall to say I'm a good-for-nothing criminal. Me, Magnus McGilded. What is the matter with the London police, I ask you? Alright, don't pass out. Mr. Naruhodo. Perhaps now would be a good time to introduce ourselves while the gentleman catches his breath. Good idea. Mr. McGilded, the thing is, we're actually here in London to study British law. We're law students, on a study tour from Japan, you see. Huh? So, if you don't have a lawyer for the trial yet, and you'd be happy to put yourself in our hands, we'll do our best. What was I have to say, you daft idiot? I've given you 1,000 guineas to stand up there next to me, haven't I? Well, yes, but I wasn't really offering to just stand up there next to you. Oh, I think I see what's going on here. Sorry? I know what you're thinking. This chance of a fellow claims to have more money than the Queen. But if that's true, why the blazes can't he hire the finest lawyer in all of England? Because he did it. That's the only explanation. Well, not at all. Although, it is a little strange, to be honest. Why you don't have a lawyer, I mean. That would be the fault of the Reaper. Sorry, did he just say Reaper? Aye, the Grim Reaper of the Bailey, Lord Barak von Zeeks. He's the prosecutor. The prosecutor is the Grim Reaper? When von Zeeks stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And to this day, in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. What? Oh shit, it's fucking Baron von Karma time. Or rather, von Zeeks. So it's reached the desperate situation where there's no one willing to stand in defense against the fella at all. Wow, we really drew the short straw. Yep, we sure did. You could say he's a living legend of the Old Bailey. Goodness, Lord Barak von Zeeks. He must be an exceptionally talented prosecutor, then. Talented isn't the word you're looking for, madam. It's cursed. Cursed? What on earth? The defendant is summoned, and his counsel. Please make your way into the courtroom. The trial is about to begin. His counsel? That would be me. Oh, 'tis time. Well then, fella, don't let me down. But I don't know anything about the case. You haven't told me what happened. Till you showed your face here. Oh, I made up me mind, so I had. Sorry? Well, I decided I'd have to defend myself in there. No, how would that have worked? But then you made an appearance. A student of law, wouldn't you know? 'Tis no accident, I can assure you of that. 'Tis fate. So don't get cold feet now, please. I literally know nothing about the case, or about this man who stands accused. In fact, the only thing I do know is that I can't just turn my back on him. This dude is a total scam artist. I'm sure he doesn't have a penny to his name. Mr. Naruhodo. The man has no one. He'll have to stand alone in that courtroom, armed with nothing to defend himself. Yes, something that Kazuma would never have allowed to happen. Counsel for the defense, what are you doing? If you're late for the start of the trial, you will lose your right to stand. I'll be right there. It's happening then. My first trial in a British court. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because I have no idea how I'm gonna manage this. Well, this is a great start to our British law study. Hey, just go defend this guy. Okay, what's the case about? It's a murder. Okay, what happened? I don't fucking know, dude. Just figure it out for yourself. 18th of February, 10 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. So, this is the highest court in Great Britain? The Old Bailey. Centuries of history in this place is palpable, isn't it? It's so different to the Supreme Court in Japan. It feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes words redundant. Whatever the country, determining a person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. Have you seen our trials? Solemn has nothing to do with it. May I say something, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes, what? Oh no, he's nervous again. Your eyes look ready to pop out of your head again. I know, but I just can't help it. Oh, dude. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. Is that Dracula? Dude, is this Santa Claus? What the hell? Holy shit. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilded. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. Prosecution is fully prepared. I mean, Dracula did live in England after the whole Impaler phase. Yep. That must be the Reaper of the Bailey. He really does look fully prepared to dispatch his next poor victim to the underworld. Counsel for the defense. You appear to be Eastern. Do you speak English? Huh? Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. But he asked if the defense was ready. And I couldn't be further from ready if I tried. Those eyes please me, Nipponese. They shroud your fear, your doubt, your trepidation. They run wild, clinging to some phantom notion of courage. The quintessential look of a sacrificial lamb. A cold shiver just ran down my spine all the way to the tips of my toes. Now, Mr. McGilded. Yes, my lord. You stand accused of murder, a capital offense. You could be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defense to this foreigner? As I've always said, my lord, 'tis a grand thing to give opportunities to the young. Even if the fella's a student from some little island off in the Far East. Is it not the British way to ignore the dangers to yourself and give those less fortunate a fair chance? I'd like to think that acts of chivalry did the great British Empire proud. Listen to Mr. McGilded. What a fine gentleman London has in him. Did you hear that he donated £5,000 to the government the other day? Mother, may we please go and play in McGilded Park? Hey, you guys are a little island in the far west. Yeah, no kidding. It seems as though everyone in the public gallery is firmly behind Mr. McGilded. That's definitely welcome news, and he certainly has a way with words. I'm surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him. Eloquently put, Mr. McGilded, and most laudable sentiments. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you that you 6 members of the public have been selected for your impartiality. Are you ready to proceed? Yes, my lord. If the task is to send rotters to the gallows where they belong, I'm more than ready. At the manor, his lordship always says we should dispose of rubbish promptly. Naturally, I agree. Ah! Any criminals here will soon be wishing they never set eyes on me. Oh snap, we have an actual jury for once. Dude, this guy's just like chugging in court. What the hell? I feel a chill. It might be the alcohol talking. Oh, don't mind me, my dears. I'll just be getting on with my knitting. Must finish these mitts for my grandson. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo. Those people are the jury. Yes, that's something we don't have in Japan yet. Apollo Justice tried a trial in, like, the very last case, but it didn't go very well, like, gameplay-wise, so they didn't bring it back for any of the other games. That's right, I've only ever read about it. But here in Great Britain, court's final verdict depends on the opinions of these 6 jurors. The judge passes sentence according to the law, but the jurors determine guilt based on common sense. So the defendant is ultimately judged from 2 completely different points of view. But how exactly do the jurors give their verdict? That I don't know, but I'm sure it'll become clear as the trial progresses. Yes. Yeah, Apollo Justice kind of flopped, but they kind of redeemed themselves with Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice. Prosecutor Van Zeeks. My lord. It's been a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I thought you renounced your fame. I'm known as the Reaper of the Bailey, my lord. infamy rather than fame, I would say. But yes, 5 years have passed since I last spread my wings in this capacity. So, what brings you back? Is there some change of circumstance of which the court should be aware? I leave that to your imagination, my lord. So the Reaper's been out of action for 5 years. Why did he have to choose today of all days to make a comeback? Don't lose heart, Mr. Naruhodo. As you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think. A summary of the case, if you please. Certainly, my lord. As your lordship is aware, this is a case of overwhelming simplicity. We must be the only ones in here who aren't aware. We don't even have anything in our court record yet. The incident took place in the late evening, 3 days past. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks known in the community as Thrice-Fired Mason. Sorry? Thrice? He was a very accomplished craftsman. The bricks he fired were said to be almost indestructible. The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in service on the streets of London at the time. A bricklayer called Mason. A dagger that had been thrust into the victim's abdomen is believed to be the ultimate cause of death. A bricklayer called Mason. Oh yeah. Here is an autopsy report from the investigating medical officer at Scotland Yard. Thank you, counsel. I shall accept that and the photograph as evidence. Alright. So we finally have things in our court record. Let's maybe take a closer look at these in a second. And one further item of evidence. The prosecution wishes to submit these as well. And these are... Good lord! Is that blood, counsel? Yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who arrived at the scene. These gore-soaked gloves were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested. What? Mr. McGilded gloves had blood on them? Why was it called Scotland Yard when it's in London again? I don't know. It's always one of those things like, wait, why are they going to Scotland now? I thought they were in England when I was like reading Sherlock Holmes as a kid. And I was like, oh, no, that's actually what their, that's actually just what their police force was called. It was just called Scotland Yard. It's like, what the fuck? Yes, I will accept these as evidence as well. Alright, so, our dude's been caught literally red-handed. How did I get into this? I'm backed into a corner before I've even started. Continuing. According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers traveling inside his vehicle at the time. Only 2? Obviously, one of those passengers was the deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. The other was the accused, Magnus McGilded. Well, rather damning circumstances, to say the least. Defendant, what say you? Well, of course, I have no recollection of such a thing. Mr. McGilded. To be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening. But whenever I'm in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness, and I always succumb to it. Are you claiming to have been asleep? 'Tis the motion of the carriage, my lord. Lilton, so it is. And when I opened my eyes again, it was a desperate sight before me. The body of a man I'd never laid eyes on before in me life. Now I ask yous, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. So the blood got onto the gloves then, after the man had been killed. Unfortunately, that statement of the driver's is only the beginning. What? That's not all of it? There were multiple witnesses to the precise moment at which the brickmaker was fatally stabbed. Order! 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 When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside the carriage, and there were witnesses to the crime. That is not just a case of compelling evidence. It's the nail in the coffin for the accused. Thank you, counsel. The circumstances of the crime have been made quite clear. I think we will hear testimony from these witnesses first of all. Your wish is my command. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in at once. Oh god, I have to do 3 witnesses at once? Help. Witnesses, your names and occupations. My name is, well, everyone calls me Beppo. I drive an omnibus in the East End. Bruce Fairplay. I'm a banker in the city. My name's First. Lady First. I make hats for gents. That's a good pun. Did someone forget to turn up the heat in the courtroom? Maybe. Maybe it's just so cold in here because of the aura Barrack von Zeeks is giving off. Let's begin by confirming the facts. 3 days ago, at a short time after 10 o'clock in the evening, all of you present in the stand were in an omnibus and witnessed the aforementioned incident. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Quite right. Yes, sir. That's right, sir. Very well, then. Let's proceed to your formal testimonies, please. Each of you will tell the court precisely what you saw. What the witnesses saw. Alright. Before I do that, I want to take a look at the court record. Alright, so, thrice fired mason, male, age 54, occupation brickmaker. Time and cause of death. The 15th of February at 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Stabbed once in the abdomen with a knife while journeying in an omnibus. Died due to internal hemorrhaging resulting from the trauma. Alright. So you know he was stabbed, and that's what killed him. At least that's what we can assume. Is there anything else that stands out here? Obviously there's the knife in the chest. Maybe he's hiding something in his hat. And gloves. This is definitely blood, isn't it? Not the most pleasant sight to be confronted with on our first day in London. Well, nothing will come of grumbling now. No. By the way, is Mr. McGilded right-handed? Yes, I believe so. He was toying with the coin in his right hand a little earlier. Pity. If only he'd been left-handed. I think blood on either glove would be fairly incriminating, really. Yeah, like, I'm sure you wouldn't care about which hand you use to, like, stem blood flow, right? Oh shit, I'm dropping frames. What the fuck? I'm still dropping frames. Oh my god, help. Okay, am I back now? Alright, that was considerably unpleasant. Hopefully that won't happen again. Alright, hopefully we're back. Like I said, I had to reset OBS. It was fucking up on me. So hopefully everything is good now. That's right, he stabbed him. I screamed, I did. Couldn't help it. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus, and then I saw it too. Unambiguous testimony, I must say. Exactly, my lord. These men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes. I'd like to ask a question, if I may. Yes, counsel. Well, this testimony makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Why not? Well, the incident took place inside a moving carriage, didn't it? As has been clearly stated from the outset, yes. Well, in that case, how could those two witnesses possibly have seen what happened? There's no way they could have seen the inside of the moving carriage. Oh, God. How quaint. I read that civilization in the Eastern Island nations was a good century behind our own. But you're here in London yourself. Are you really so ignorant about our omnibuses? Huh? Tell me, my Nipponese friend, have you even traveled in an omnibus? Well, no. We, only arrived in London this morning. No matter. I've arranged for us all to see for ourselves the actual scene of the crime, that is. What do you mean? The actual scene? How? A carriage is designed to be moved, after all. Presumably, you understand that much. Yes. The omnibus in which this bloody crime took place is here today, in this very building. Here? What? The entire carriage? Bailiff! Bring forth the stricken omnibus! Damn. Dude just brought a whole ass carriage into the courtroom. So that's an omnibus? The omnibus. I can't believe they could bring something so enormous in here. Great Britain's courtrooms are amazing. How'd they fit this in? Yeah, no kidding, right? As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses and can carry up to 8 passengers. Did they remove the roof and drop it in? Yeah, they got a helicopter and they put it in. 4 passengers seated inside the enclosed cabin, another 4 on the rooftop deck above. Every Londoner knows the best views of the city's architecture and sights are to be had from the top of an omnibus. And I should point out to our foreign guests that there is a skylight in the roof, allowing a view of the interior from the seats above. Ah, a skylight. Oh! The penny drops at last, I see. These 2 gentlemen were occupying the rooftop seats on this omnibus when the murder took place. That is how they came to witness the grim incident. Through the skylight. That makes perfect sense. Well, counsel, this is a first. In all my years behind the bench, I've never experienced the crime scene itself being brought into the courtroom. There are a number of important clues remaining inside the carriage, my lord. I would like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. That is the prosecution's wish. Dude just presenting the whole ass crime scene as evidence. My dude. Very well, I see no reason why not. This omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence. That is a huge flex. Massive flex. I can't believe it. The entire crime scene entered as evidence? Yes, Great Britain's simply extraordinary. I could help myself a lot by giving that omnibus a thorough examination, seeing as it's here. Let us continue with proceedings, then. Your cross-examination, counsel. Pray don't expect this Nipponese stray to understand the intricacies of a British court's cross-examination rights. Alright. My first cross-examination in a British court. Focus, Ryunosuke. Focus! Alright. So let me take a look at this omnibus. Well, let's open the door and go inside, shall we? Scene of a murder. It's horrible. Alright. I can't believe we're looking at an entire freaking crime scene. This is ridiculous. That's blood that's soaked into the seat. The victim's, obviously. Yes, and that seat would be clearly visible from the roof deck. Would you really stab somebody in full view of the other passengers like that, I wonder? Well, it was after dark, and there was a lamp on in here, so perhaps the culprit couldn't see anything outside the skylight. Whichever way you look at it, it doesn't seem like it was a planned attack. Ah, that's a poster for the great exhibition that's due to start 6 months from now. There's a lot of focus being drawn to the Crystal Tower, the centerpiece of the whole exposition. Ooh, the Crystal Tower. It's under construction already, I believe. People all over London must be fizzing with excitement at the prospect of such a grand event. I can't find anything out of place. I want to examine the handle, that's what I was going for. The seat has a handle, it seems. This looks like all sorts of equipment that might be needed to keep the omnibus running. Feeding tubs, tools to repair wheels, blankets, horseshoeing tools. So it's a storage compartment for the coachman to keep his things, it seems. Doesn't seem to be any space for passengers to stow their luggage, that's for sure. Well, I don't imagine it'd be very convenient for that purpose anyway. I guess there's nothing on this one. I was thinking there might be ones on both sides. Have you seen enough? Let's step back outside then. Alright. So this is the roof deck of the omnibus. Oh, you must have a wonderful view of London streets from up here. So people sit all the way up here on bitter winter nights with the cold air rushing past them? And they have to pay money to do so? I can't imagine how cold it must feel. That just made me think of something horrible. Can you imagine being dragged around the city in the freezing cold as a punishment? Perhaps that is the real price you pay to stay out late. Hey, it's a Phoenix Wright omnibus. I see something out of place. You can certainly see inside the carriage through this opening, that's for sure. Yes, and there's a lamp in the enclosed cabin. So I'm sure the witnesses would have been able to see quite clearly. But that's not good for us. Okay, I wanted to see if, like, the back seats had anything different from the front seats, but it doesn't appear to be. I feel like I've caught everything here. Alright, let's go press some statements.
Hold it!
Yes, I think it was sometime after 10, wasn't it? Oh, yes, sir. That's right, sir. Ever so cold it was, sir. Freezing, in fact. And you had 4 passengers on board at the time. Is that correct? Yes, that's right, sir. Not all traveling in the same parts of the bus, of course, though. No. Everyone seems to be in their neutral stances. And there were no other passengers when the incident took place? No one alighted, for example. You're quite right with that, sir. No other passengers like that. No, none. Oh, crap, I should have checked that. So nobody fled the scene of the crime, then? I have to say, the boss insists on running it, he does. Every evening. Last bus of the day. But I do wonder sometimes if it's altogether worthwhile. Sorry to say. What do you mean by that? Well, what with it being so cold and everything, and only making 20 pence on the run, you see. Yes, I spend that much at the pub on the way home, just trying to warm up again. Poor Beppo. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Hold it! And you saw them through the skylight in the roof of the carriage? That's right. When you sit up on the top deck, the window's right there at your feet. There was a lamp on inside, so I had a pretty good view. The 2 of them were wearing hats, and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. But there's not a shred of doubt in my mind that it was Mr. McGilded. But there's no red gloves here. How can you be so sure? Well, how can I put it politely? McGilded is a gentleman of rather small stature. I couldn't have mistaken him for anyone else. Let's not forget that when the vehicle came to a halt, the only people inside the enclosed cabin were the deceased Mr. Mason and Mr. McGilded. There's no room for doubt here. I really wish there was. Then, out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. Hold it! You actually saw the exact moment it happened? Didn't I already testify to that? Or are fair, dinkum, hard-working city bankers not considered trustworthy these days? Oh, no, I didn't mean that. This is no good. I've really got his back up. Perhaps you could just tell us what you saw in a little more detail if that's... My lord! Juror number 3? What's the meaning of this? My mind is made up, my lord. Completely and utterly made up. Made up about what? I don't like the stinking rich. Never have. They're always up to something or other that they shouldn't be. Every one of them. And that little leprechaun of a man is no exception. Well, he can't fool me. Excuse me, what? There's no point in wasting time listening to any more of this. That's my opinion on the matter anyway. That's precisely what I was about to say. As the foreman of the jury, it is my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors. Bruh, I hate this already. Let me press all the statements. What's happening here? Let me see. Ah, yes. It seems that's how the members of the jury give their verdicts. With fire? Apparently, yes. White for innocent, and black for guilty. As the 6 members of the jury make up their minds about the case, one by one, they each cast a ball of fire into the great scales of justice, as we just saw a moment ago. So if those enormous scales go completely to the black side, does that mean... Let's do our very best to make sure that doesn't happen. Now I'm even more worried than I was before. Very well. The court acknowledges the change in the jury's stance. Counsel for the defense, please continue with your cross-examination. This is a nightmare. That's right. He stabbed him. I screamed I did. Couldn't help it. I'm afraid to press statements now.
Hold it!
Why? He stabbed him, you say? And you were sitting up on the roof deck, were you? Yes, that's right, sir. I was up on the roof seats. I remember seeing the little gent sitting next to the fellow that was stabbed. I'd been thinking about a new hat design, you see, so I was just gazing absent-mindedly around. But then I happened to look down through the skylight.
Excuse me!
If I may, Mr. Fairplay? What are you fossicking for now? That last statement appears to have given you pause for thought. Not really. Oh, fuck. I didn't mean to do that. By the way, you always seem to be looking to the side, one way or the other. Do you have some affliction? Not really. He's not really willing to say anything, it seems. It's none of your business anyhow. Yeah, I definitely did not mean to do that.
Hold it!
What exactly did you see? Oh, well, that would be the passenger, sir. Yes, collapsed on the floor he was. And by the passenger, obviously you're referring to the victim, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. And then the other passenger had that knife in his hand, like this. By the other passenger, obviously you are referring to the accused, Mr. Magnus McGilded. And then he plunged it down like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly. What? My lord, if you'll forgive the interruption. Juror number 2. Go on. Mr. McGilded is a pillar of society and a gentleman gentleman's words should be sacrosanct. However, those of us in service know we must accept hard truths. Wait, why are you about to dispose of the rubbish? Oh my god. Am I just gonna get, like, a guilty verdict for pressing statements? Is that seriously what's happening here? I don't wish to cause offense, but I do like to eradicate all traces of filth and grime. I have painstakingly typed every word uttered here today and cross-referenced all the facts. As such, I am now in a position to draw the only logical conclusion. Jeebus. What the hell? Not again? That's 4 out of 6 jury members who proposed a guilty verdict. There are only 2 left. We've had it. Every time I press these witnesses for more information, I just make the situation worse. Nevertheless, what we need more than anything at the moment is more information. We're still very much in the dark. I suppose I'll just have to keep pressing the witnesses, knowing that more sparks may well fly. I mustn't give up hope that we'll uncover something that will give us a way to fight back. But alright, I'll keep trying. I can't give up. I just need to keep calm and listen to the witnesses' statements again. Alright, so when it happened, the only 2 people in the enclosed cabin area were the victim and the defendant. And, so help me, 3 whole people witnessed the man I'm trying to defend do the deed. I don't like to be pessimistic, but we do seem to be in a rather difficult situation here. What am I supposed to think here? Is Mr. McGilded really innocent? Or could it be... But before we jump to conclusions, our first task should be to gather information. We need to understand the case much better than we do at the moment. Yes, you're absolutely right. Let's listen to those witness statements again, a little more carefully this time. Alright, so I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing here. Like, maybe I accidentally hit through the fourth statement and made a mistake there. But, like, if we're going from what people saw... the blood is here. So, the victim must be sitting there, and the other one must be sitting up here. This would be where Mr. McGilded was sitting. Yeah, I think I'm doing okay, because I'm not getting penalties. I still have all 5. Okay, so... the seat looks reasonably soft, but it's actually rather hard when you sit on it. It's only just wide enough for 2 gentlemen to sit side by side, really. Of course, an English gentlewoman would be dressed in such finery. It would be quite impossible for her to climb up to the roof deck, so she would have to be seated in here. A woman in a kimono would have the same problem. Women's clothes are very impractical, aren't they? It makes sense, these trials are always back and forth, which is why they're so entertaining. Yeah, for sure. Can't find anything out of place. Alright. No, I want to see the notice. Alright, I guess not. Again, I feel like the fact that these color gloves don't match what the guy's testimony said, but like the guy in the testimony obviously didn't explain what color the gloves were. I feel like that's the herring we should be looking for.
Hold it!
Alright, let's press this statement. I remember seeing the little gent sitting next to the fellow that was stabbed. I'd been thinking about a new hat design, you see, so I was just gazing absent-mindedly around. But then I happened to look down through the skylights. It was sticking right out of his belly, that huge great knife. A grim sight indeed. Ah, that didn't help me at all. The jury looks like they're even more convinced my client did it than they were before. That appears to have made everyone even more dubious that Mr. McGilded is telling the truth. If only we had some evidence to counter their suspicions. Mr. First. Oh, yes? Yes, sir? Is this the knife you saw? I knew I shouldn't have got my statement interrupted here. This looks like decisive evidence for us. Oh, good grief. Yes, that's it. The very one, sir. Is that? Yes, counsel. This is the blade that was driven into the victim's belly, like a stake through the heart. You would know something about that, wouldn't you? That is a blade of considerable size, counsel. It is. And furthermore, The scabbard is emblazoned prominently with a certain initial. The letter M, which seems oddly familiar. Ugh, please, no. M for Magnus, perhaps? Or McGilded, possibly. Take your pick. It seems this particular big name in London made a magnificent mistake.
Objection!
But there are M's everywhere. Yes. Like in Mason.
Objection!
This blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owned. No, this weapon of murder almost certainly belonged to the accused. Not conclusive, but certainly compelling, counsel. Alright, so a fancy knife was the murder weapon as well. My lord, I wish to speak. Yes, juror number 5. Do I take it that you too, as the master of the London Guild of Coachmen, the idea of a murder being committed in one of the city's carriage is utterly abhorrent to me. It wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all the facts, though, I said to myself. But I've heard enough now. The horse is bolted, as they say. No, please, just keep an open mind a little up. Gee up now, Silverblaze, the finish is in sight. Oh no, knitting old woman, you're my only hope. Beppo's a long-standing member of the guild, and I trust what the man says. Oh, thank you, sir. You're too kind, sir. This is too unkind, sir. Which now means that 5 jurors agree to condemn this man. How's he so cold indoors? Save us, Granny. You're our only hope. Madam Juror number 6. Yes, dear? What can I do for you? You have heard the testimonies of the witnesses in the stand. Oh, yes, I certainly have. Still got my hearing, you know. Then pray tell, why are you yet to pronounce your leaning? Well, dear, the thing is, I'm a creature of habit, me. I always go to the park at around this time of day and sit on a nice bench and get on with my knitting. There's a lovely little park just near where I live. McGilded Park, it's called. The gentleman donated it to the city, you know, to put a smile on Londoners' faces, he said. I can't imagine such a fine young gentleman would have had it in him to take another man's life. He's always doing wonderful things for the city. That's right. A man like that wouldn't stab someone, surely. Mother, may we go to the McGilded Public Library later and borrow some more books? How many Londoners live with their heads in the clouds? Do you people not know? What kind of a man Magnus McGilded really is? What kind of a man is he? The philanthropist, Magnus McGilded, has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? Your client is a Shylock, sir, and one with the very darkest of souls. What? Stone the crows! McGilded lends money at extortionate rates of interest so his victims have no hope of repaying him. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. He is a vulture that preys on the weak. I've never heard any mention of that before. Your faculties haven't deserted you, I'm sure, madame. So has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? What possible reason could this man have had to make use of a public omnibus service? You're not saying that the victim, a poor brickmaker, had next to nothing to his name, save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused, Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known, The very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for his debts. Good gracious. Oh shit. Our prosecutor knows how to introduce motive. We're fucked. We are fucked, guys. Oh shit. Brickmaker was destitute. He had lost his house. He had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. And in the end, this pitiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken from him. His life. By the merciless philanthropist pretender, Magnus McGilded. I don't believe it. If I might add something briefly, Miss Susato? That seems a bit excessive even for a loan shark. Yeah, just a bit. People are worth more money alive than dead. You claim that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded, but where is the evidence to support your claim? Dude. Pray, forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice in a court of law. There it is! Lord Von Zeke's hallowed chalice! How can this be considered acceptable? But I find myself in unexpectedly good humor. I had heard ladies from the far east could show great courage, but I didn't expect to experience it myself. As judicial assistant to the defense, I am simply doing my job. What a pity that your display of courage is in vain. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You will find the victim's name clearly recorded inside. Oh. Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. And pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice in a toast to the enigmatic East at the same time. My dude just dumps out a whole bottle of wine in court. I love this guy already. A marvelous toast, counsel. I'll gladly accept this new evidence. I also like Susato. She's great. Catalog of people who had borrowed money from the defendant at a high rate of interest includes the victims, who owed 20 guineas. Ah, yes, 20 guineas. The victim owed a considerable sum. And the accused made quite certain he had ample recompense. Let me take a look at that. This portfolio must contain all sorts of secrets of London's gentry. Oh dear, do you really think we ought to look inside? Well, it's not as though we know any of London's gentry personally, is it? Apart from our great detective friend, perhaps. Actually, I wonder. I assure you we will not find Mr. Sholmes' name inside. Well, let's see what we find. Well, I can't read any of that. Gosh, it's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it? Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen at all, are they? After all, not everyone in this country is well off. Goodness! What is it? Look at this! Do you see the name here? Bruce Fairplay. Should that mean something to me? It does sound strangely familiar, actually. Dude, it's one of the witnesses. Bruce Fairplay, the witness testifying at this very moment. Oh, yes, of course, the banker. Why is his name in here? Ah, he borrowed 20 guineas, did he? And look, the repayment date is fast approaching. It's possible that this is just a coincidence, of course, but this could be very useful information. The details of the ledger have been updated. Is there anything else in here? Or is that it? Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. Alright. Well, it would seem I've had the wool pulled over my eyes. Regrettably, madame, that is the modus operandi of the accused. It's such a pretty little park, too. What a scoundrel. Still, maybe it's all for the best. Well, wait a minute. Let's think about this a little more before... I don't stand for nonsense. Do I lose? Do I lose just for pressing statements? Like, actually? That was it. The last juror's decision. According to this Encyclopedia of British Law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended, and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That's what it says here. The final verdict. It's over then. Oh. There's a footnote, though. A footnote? However, the defense... All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement in this case. We literally did not have a chance to proceed through this trial at all. Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision. According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial by delivering my final verdict. I trust there are no objections. Miss Usato, just tell me one thing. Oh, yes? You were in the middle of saying something before. The footnote in your Encyclopedia of British Law. However, the defense... What did it say next? Oh, yes, of course. One moment. When all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended, and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. Then the footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point. Summation examination?
Objection!
A summation examination? From which century has that tome you have there been resurrected? Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law wouldn't even give such an antiquated procedure a mention. It's a relic, long forgotten, and certainly no longer practiced. So you're out of luck. Oh. What even is it, Miss Usato? This so-called summation examination. Oh, one moment, and I'll read about it. Yeah, if it's not legally removed, it's still practicable in court of laws. You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understand what it entails. Typical Nipponese. Alright, Mr. Naruhodo, I think I understand. It seems that under this procedure, we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. To do what, exactly? Appeal to them to change their leaning and reverse their decisions. And it says here that, if successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed. Make them reverse their decisions. Yes, in times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence the jury's decision. But that procedure became something of a formality with no practical benefit, really, so it rather fell out of use. I wonder why. Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try in this day and age. Still, I don't see any mention of the procedure actually being formally revoked. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? We're no self-respecting barrister. We're Ryunosuke Naruhodo, ace attorney. A summation examination, our last possible option. Do we assert our right to carry it out or admit defeat? Well, obviously. The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standards of judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain buried.
Objection!
But if it's our right, it's our right. I believe it could prove vital in this trial. The defense's petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination. This is madness. Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready? I'm not. There was no mention of this in the letter I received, so you see, All members of the jury will ask to explain on what grounds they have reached their decision. On what grounds? You must all justify your decisions and explain why you believe the defendant to be guilty. Well, my lord, you're rather putting us on the spot. This is most irregular. No mention was made of this before. I don't really hold with all that justifying lock. That seems to have thrown the jurors off. It seems none of them have experienced this before. Alright then, the summation examination. A defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years, is it? Well, just maybe. It might be the opportunity we've been looking for, to turn this trial around. So be it then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant, Magnus McGilded, guilty of this most serious crime. The jurors' contentions. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers, with fares totaling 20 pence. He stuck the chap next to him just like this. Brazen, I must say. Absolutely brazen. I have simply typed and collated the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. Well, shit, that's it, isn't it? Dude got 20 pence. 4 times 5 is 20. There were 5 passengers. The scoundrel, stabbing the poor man on the floor. It beggars belief. That's gonna change eventually, juror number 5. Yep. I'm starting to wish I hadn't pushed for this now. Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments, do they? Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I'll have to throw everything I can at them, and use some very persuasive language. Just a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. According to my book, that's not quite how it works. Oh? I thought I was going to have to thaw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. Unfortunately, once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But then, they've reached their conclusion by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become. Then what on earth am I supposed to do? Oh, dear, I'm just citing what I've read about British law, Mr. Naruhodo. Right. I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work, then? Well, from what I can understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments. What do you mean? Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a united front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in the courtroom together. And that's the way to break them down, you mean? Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says. and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can, we then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other. I see. So it's contradictions in what two or more jurors say that we're looking for. In a way, then, this is similar to a regular cross-examination. Oh, yes, I suppose you're right. Find contradictions in their statements, and pit the jurors against one another to break them down. Alright, I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. I have to pull this off. Damn. Can we start proceedings, counsel? I would ask you to take the stand for this. I'm expecting a clear and concise rebuttal. Yes, my lord. Dramatic. The defense's rebuttal. Alright. So, let's save. I'm not sure if I'm even supposed to press at all. The game made it sound like I'm not supposed to press in these things. So, I'm going to try pitting Juror 2, 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence, with Juror 5. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence in years.
Objection!
Those two statements clearly contradict each other. They do? Explain yourself, counsel. Me? Oh dear, what have I said? I swear on Silver Blaze's name and name, I haven't the first idea what you're talking about. According to the group testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus on the night in question. And according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares. Quite right. I have those precise details typed neatly here in front of me. And juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence. That it is, a fair and convenient single price, just the way London's carriages should be operated. But that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts. Why, man? Why? 4 passengers paying 4 pence each. If you do the multiplication, it would be 16 pence. Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact. Or precisely 1 person's fare. 1 person's fare? Yes. In other words, on the omnibus that night, it's distinctly possible there was another passenger we've heard nothing about. Goodness gracious! This can't be right. The coachmen of the guild are good, honest men, one and all. Trustworthiness is our watchword. The figures your coachmen claim most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy. I beg your pardon? Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news will surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he lets nefarious characters ride his omnibus. Alright then, how do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end, Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire onto the innocent side of the set of scales. Now hold your horses there, coachman. We were all in agreement. Why do you have to go in? Wait till I get my hands on you, Beppo. That was easy. This is all very irritating. Begging your pardon, sir. I'm going to do the same. Well, trial continues. We did it. For the love of Mike, not you as well! This is a dramatic way to cast votes. Yeah, no kidding. A penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear, after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exacting standards in financial matters. Oh, really? I, for one, think it's only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo, you did it! If we can manage to change 2 more jurors' minds, we can force the trial to continue. 2 more. Actually, there is something else that's bothering me about a couple of their assertions. And that's where you must strike next. So I need to pit 2 more jurors against each other and show there's another contradiction in their assertions. Exactly. You can do it. Well, the scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavily on the side of guilt. Counsel, you have the floor again. Continue with your summation examination. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it must have been him. Well, if we know about this mysterious 5th passenger, there's somebody in the carriage. He stuck the chap next to him just like this. Brazen, I must say. Absolutely brazen. I feel like I should do 4 with that? On the floor. Alright, I'm saving again, but I feel like it's 1 and 4. We know 1's a clear contradiction because of the things we proved. Oh yeah, 1's in the side, the other's on the floor. That makes sense. Ah. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Objection!
Those 2 statements are completely contradictory. What? Explain, counsel. Post haste.
Oh, dearie me. I was only knitting a jumper for my other half.
What is all this claptrap? What does contradictory even mean, I ask you? We've heard from more than 1 witness. They allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, juror number 3. What? Can't you see that I'm busy here? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it? Ha! Want to test me, do you? It was like this. Stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. Just like the prim banker said. Yes, that was Mr. Fairplay's testimony. Quite true. Now then, juror number 6.
Oh, is that me, is it? What can I do you for, young man?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam?
Oh, well, dear, as far as I understand it, it was like this. He stabbed the poor man after he collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so.
Now don't move. Take a look at these 2 jurors. He stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. And he stabbed the poor man after he collapsed on the floor.
Well, I never. They're stabbing in totally different directions.
What?
Bless my stitches. What a muddle.
What this tells us is that there's a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth.
Oh!
But why?
Why the dickens would they lie?
I don't know that yet. But what I do know is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in all good conscience?
Lies, you say? Oh, dearie me. I can't abide people telling lies.
The scales. I don't believe it. Hold it! Wait! Now hear this, my fellow jurors. I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. Look at him in his black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using his magic on us all. If I could use magic, do you really think I'd be putting myself through all this? Answer me this, dark jinx. Huh? Me? What exactly is the problem? What of it that two witnesses have slightly different recollections of events? What of it? Let's say the Shylock did stab the victim as he sat next to him on the omnibus, and this young dandy saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor, and then the Shylock stabbed him again, and this old lady saw him do it. Well, what's to say it didn't happen like that, hmm? Who are you calling a dandy, sir? Why, I should take this knife to you. Who are you calling old? Why, I should take this needle to you. They're ready to kill each other now. But could the foreman of the jury be right? Did the two witnesses see two different moments of the same crime? Okay, so I'm pretty sure this is out of the question due to the way the blood is on the, at the scene of the crime. Because if he was stabbed on the floor, there would be blood on the floor. There's only blood in one place. Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman. What is it, you dark jinx? Come on, out with it. What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question. Yeah. Also, it says a single stab wound in the autopsy report, which is probably the evidence I'm actually supposed to present. What are you talking about, man? How could you possibly say that? You do realize that I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have a responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So where's your evidence, man? That's what we want to see. I say the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime. If you say that's out of the question, show me some proof. It looks like the only way I'm going to convince him is to present him with something he can't dismiss. Some irrefutable hard evidence. As you wish. What? I'll give you the proof. It's out of the question that two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime, as proven by...
Take that!
This is the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen. Only once. Only once? It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely one time. Which means these witnesses can't possibly have seen it happen two different times. Alright, I concede defeat. Wait, that means 4 jurors are now leaning to not guilty. We've done it, Mr. Naruhodo. We've won! Aw, that was so cute. What are you playing at, you dandy fool? Shut your trap, sir. No one deceives me. But we had a consensus. I said shut your trap. I know a liar when I see one. And if the chap ever dares to cross the threshold of my shop, I'll take this razor-sharp blade and shave every last hair off his head. Please tell me he's a barber. Yeah, we still have to prove his innocence. Well, in quite a remarkable turn of events, the defense's summation examination has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. The jurors now stand at 2 for guilty and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there's no longer a large enough majority among the jury for me to adjudicate, and the trial must continue. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witnesses to return to their places, and I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth. Well, snap. This is dramatic. So, Lord Van Zieks, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution, if you please. Dude's already on his second glass. Or not. Having savored the rich aroma of the carmine contents of this hallowed chalice, It may seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zeeks! Ugh. Is it cold in here, or is it just me? As your antiquated tome no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during a summation examination. So I honored a deathly silence and listened to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Well, no matter. There's nothing so hard to prove as a self-evident truth, it would seem. No. And why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence, after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Aw, shit, he threw his cape off, now he's serious. Bring forth the witnesses once more. Witnesses, I trust you heard the summation examination we just had to endure. Oh, yes, sir. That I did, sir. Of course I heard it. Oh, yes, sir. I heard it. You, sir, on the end. The coachman. I believe it's Beppo. Yes, sir. My lord, sir. If it transpires that in your previous testimony, you were attempting to veil the presence of a fifth passenger on your omnibus, you will be found guilty of perjury. You are advised to bear that in mind, sir. Oh, mio dio. Now then, witnesses, I hereby call on you to testify before the court again. You will explain the various misgivings brought to our attention by the defense's summation examination. Various misgivings. I only carried 4 passengers that night. I swear it, but, Well, I, for one, was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus. He fiddled us on the fare, he did. And I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much. I tell you, I saw McGilded stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands. Oh, yes. Yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so, yes. Counsel, make sense of this for me, please. The phantom fifth passenger conjured into existence by my learned Eastern friend never existed. The confusion has arisen from the coachman's sly little cosenage. Beppo, explain yourself! I'm terribly sorry, Guildmaster. Guild's fare is 4 pence across the board. You know that. Am I to understand that you've been overcharging our passengers by a penny a fare? It's so cold, and the last run of the day is always half empty. You have been dishonest, coachman. I'm sorry. You're a disgrace, Beppo. A disgrace! And your selfish actions have brought dishonor on the entire guild. If I may, sir, I had to pay 10 pence on the bus just last week. What? 4 passengers at 5 pence each is, yes, 20 pence. I've done the arithmetic 10 times already, but I just can't make the result come out differently. No, that figures. Well, it would appear that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, if you please. We've already had the pleasure of a protracted summation examination today. I see you intend to continue the parlor games. Absolutely. Alright, so pressing is not the end-all be-all. Just, you know, scare the shit out of me regardless. Alright. Sorry. I meant to press that statement.
Hold it!
So, there were only 4 passengers on your carriage, but you didn't charge them the standard 4 pence fare. Is that right?
It's impossible to make the last run of the day pay. I was so cold. It was all I could do to stop myself passing out.
I'm getting chilblains just listening to you.
It was terrible, so I wanted to give myself a pat on the back to keep the bus running. Doesn't a dedicated coachman deserve an extra penny per passenger?
You're digging a deeper hole for yourself here. If only there had been a 5th passenger on the omnibus that night. Then we would have had another suspect. Well, I for one was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus.
Hold it!
Does that mean everyone on board that night paid 5 pence instead of 4?
Well, I paid 5 pence too, sir.
And I just told you that I did.
A flat fare of 5 pence across the board.
It's not something to be proud of.
The so-called discrepancy my learned friend identified was nothing of the sort. Much like the phantom killer you so desperately needed, it's gone, dead and buried.
The 10 pence charge was apparently on the bus last week for the other dude, so I don't think it's relevant to this case. I'd have been happy if it ever existed in the first place.
He fiddled us on the fare, he did. And then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well.
Hold it!
All too much.
This blood-curdling sight. You mean the murder, I presume?
Yes, sir.
A loathsome sight. No one should have to witness the horror in the eyes of a man the moment his life is taken.
Oh, well, not exactly, sir. I mean, I didn't actually see the exact moment the gent was stabbed.
Good gracious! Really? We have another witness who did, however. The banker has already testified to it. Oh yeah, I saw it jump. I want to press that statement again. But Mr. First didn't actually see the point in which the victim was killed. That may turn out to be very significant. I heard the banker gent next to me take a sharp intake of breath, see? That's when I looked through the glass. That's when I saw that horrible blade poking out from his belly, all covered in blood. Every time I see a knife now, I can't help screaming, even when I'm eating. I tell you, I saw McGilded stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands.
Hold it!
So you saw the defendant, Mr. McGilded, stabbing the victim, Mr. Mason, who was sitting next to him. That's what I said, isn't it? It's bothering me before this was. For just a brief moment, he hesitated before answering the question. Anyway, there's only the 2 of them inside the carriage, wasn't there? There's been much talk of a 5th passenger, but as yet, 0 evidence. That's what we're all wasting time for, eh? It's black and white. This man's guilty. I don't think I can pit them in these witness statements. I can only pit the jurors against each other. Something about Mr. Fairplay's testimony just jars with me. I wish I could work out what it was.
Oh, yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so. Yes.
Hold it!
Earlier, you testified that you saw the moment when the defendant allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you?
Oh, yes, that's right.
You said that the victim was on the floor, and described the assailant holding the knife in an ice pick grip. I suppose I might have, yes, put the cart before the horse, maybe. What's this? Well, I'm quite sure about most of it. I was driving the horses when I heard a scream from the seats of the roof deck. Oh, I expect that was me, sir. That's when I turned around. Yes, I saw it through the skylight. The gentleman was on the floor, and the knife was sticking up out of his midriff. I mean, that holds true to what we know so far. That's right, yes. And the fellow holding the handle was the famous man. Yes. So, in short, you didn't see the moment when the victim was actually stabbed at all. I really thought that I did, but when I go over it again in my head... No, I suppose I didn't actually see the precise moment of the stabbing.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay? Yeah, I was waiting for a reaction. I was expecting, like, subtle things, but not like that. Not like that. Now you listen to me. I know what you're thinking. He didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that? Eh? Are you asking me or telling me? He's getting flustered. Might be able to extract some new information from him if I answer him cleverly. Could he have happened to see the exact moment the crime was committed? No chance, or some days are just like that. Alright, so, feels like there's an obvious correct answer here. Well, it is a little hard to believe, certainly. Unless you spend your time peeping through a skylight on the top of an omnibus, that is. Peeping? I'm a respectable city banker, I'll have you know. And I know what I saw. I remembered it as clear as a Ballarat day. It was a grim scene. I don't mind telling you. Thank you, Mr. Fairplay. Oh, excuse me if I was getting a little hot under the collar there, my lord. I would ask you to supplement your testimony with a clear statement about what exactly you saw. Oh, I can do that all right. I'll tell you just how grim it was. Do you think I'd forget the sight of those blood-soaked hands after that butcher stabbed the man?
Hold it!
Blood-soaked? Well, perhaps soaked is laying it on a little thick, but... Yeah. As we can clearly see, our guy was wearing gloves. But anyway, there's definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. And you saw that from the roof, through the skylight. Well, the skylight's reasonably large, so I had a pretty good view. Both? Yep, time to present the gloves. And there was a lamp on inside the carriage as well, so I'm quite sure of what I saw. This banker's latest statement. I feel sure there was something not quite right about it. When you feel something doesn't add up, Mr. Naruhodo, that's when you should have a good look through the court record. Not long ago, this trial very nearly came to an end. Somehow, we've managed to keep our chances alive here. I can't waste this cross-examination. I have to use it to bring some new facts to light. If you're not careful when you press these witnesses, the danger is that the jury will end up believing something unhelpful as they did before. Maybe. But we can't let the fear of that happening stop us from uncovering important new information. Yes, you're so right. I need to pay careful attention here. I don't want to miss even a flicker of a reaction among these witnesses. Remember, if you happen to spot one of the witnesses reacting in a strange way, don't hesitate to pursue them as to the reason. And look at all these hints this game's given us. Alright, so we have to get all the way to the very last statement. And then we present the evidence. Present with why. Blood-soaked hands? Well, I admit that soaked might be laying it on a little thick, but... But anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. Well, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay, but that's more than a little peculiar. What? Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGilded, on the night in question. Oh, yes, right. And there certainly does appear to be a sizable dark-colored stain there. But, as I'm sure you can clearly see, it's only on the right-hand glove. In short, Mr. Fairplay, your testimony is inconsistent. But, no, that can't be right.
So you're the liar here, then?
Gah. That's right, you were quite clear about it. You said, it was both hands. Mr. Fairplay, if your last statement was a lie, it calls your entire testimony into question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed, but is that really the truth?
Objection!
It was a simple mistake. You can't justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it wasn't both hands, it was only one, but the fact remains. The victim's blood was on the accused.
Objection!
No, Mr. Fairplay categorically stated that he saw blood all over both hands, which means there's a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court. Why? Why? I'm a city banker, for pity's sake. My word should be the gold standard. I'm a gentleman, not some gutter snipe. Upstanding members of society don't prevaricate. He's claiming to have no reason to lie, but is that really the case? Mr. Naruhodo, if we had some evidence to explain why Mr. Fairplay might be lying, it could turn the tide in this trial completely. Something to show this man has a compelling reason to lie in his testimony? I have evidence. We've got that ledger. My lord. Yes, counsel. The defense is ready to present evidence. By Jove, are you sure? Yes. Evidence that will clearly demonstrate why Mr. Fairplay had reason to lie in his testimony. Ugh. Very well. I hereby call on the defense to present its evidence. The evidence that demonstrates a motive for the witness's alleged deception of the court.
Take that!
This is a list of the debtors who owe money to Mr. McGilded. Yes, a list of innocent victims crippled by the accused's extortion. The point is, among the name of the debtors is your name, Mr. Bruce Fairplay. What? Mr. Fairplay, are you currently indebted financially to the accused? No, well, it's barely worthy of being called a debt. According to this ledger, you owe 20 guineas. Not an inconsiderable sum of money, wouldn't you say? Well, what of it? Let's suppose Mr. McGilded were to be found guilty of murder. What would become of your debt in that case? These documents state that the loan agreement is forged between two individual parties. Therefore, were the creditor, the defendant here, to be sentenced to a capital punishment, all outstanding debts which were owed to him would be annulled. They would cease to exist. Cease to exist? Mr. Fairplay,
Is it not the case that you claimed in your testimony to have seen something you never in fact saw, in a devious attempt to annul your debt of 20 guineas to the defendant? Ugh. Ah! Order! 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 Mr. Bruce Fairplay! Yes, my lord! Let me ask you again, and be aware that your answer may have most serious implications upon your future, sir. Fair play indeed. Did you, or did you not, see the precise moment in time at which the defendant is alleged to have thrust a knife into the victim? Your silence speaks volumes. You did not tell the truth in your testimony. Alright, now let's not make a melodrama out of this. Perhaps I did overstate the truth a pinch. A pinch? But it makes no difference. I definitely remember seeing blood on my gilded hands. Both of them.
Objection!
And yet, only one of the defendant's gloves, which we have here as evidence, is stained. Ugh. So you keep saying. I wonder if I might be allowed to speak, sir. Go ahead, Mr. First. Well, the thing is, I think I remember seeing it myself. As it happens. Seeing what? The blood, sir. On the assailant's hands. I think, yes. I'm almost sure that it was on both of his hands, not just one. What? What? I mean, doesn't that... Well, I wouldn't say it exactly proves our victim's innocence, or accused innocence here, but, it pretty much says that it can't be him. Unless, of course, he took his gloves off, got blood all over his hands, then put his gloves back on, and then tried to, like, stem the wound. Because that's kind of what it seems to be saying. But, like, I sincerely doubt that. It appears we're going to need further testimony from all you witnesses. This time, I would like to know precisely what you did and what you did not see. Do I make myself perfectly clear? Yeah, it seems pretty roundabout when a dude's bleeding out. Exactly. Mr. Naruhodo, this is good news. The course of the trial seems to have shifted slightly at last. Yes. I might finally have a chance to turn things around here. What the witnesses really saw. Take that, Dracula. There's blood on both hands of the assailant. I sincerely and distinctly remember that. However, I suppose you might say that I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired, if that matters. I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both of the attacker's hands with blood on them. I didn't actually see anything myself. No, not until I heard that scream. Anyway, the fact remains, there can't have been anyone else inside that carriage, or we all would have seen. No. The skylight only shows 2 seats. Well, lo and behold. In truth of fact, not one of you was witness to the crucial moment the crime was perpetrated. I apologize, my lord, but honestly, there was no one else inside that carriage, and the man's hands were covered in blood. That much incriminating evidence is tantamount to saying we saw the man do it. That's really not what testimony is about. Let us examine the interior of the omnibus once more. The victim's fresh blood is clearly visible on the seat, corroborating the witness's accounts. In other words, there is no substantial nor significant change in the facts of the case. Very well. Your cross-examination, please, counsel. Yes, my lord.
Once again, we're making another save here. Alright, let's keep going. There's blood on both hands of the assailant. I sincerely and distinctly remember that.
Hold it!
Man, all this just to get into Britain. Yeah, no kidding. No, the evidence tells us otherwise. We have the gloves the defendant was wearing on the night in question in the court record. I'm well aware of that, sir. Nevertheless, I know what I saw and I stand by it. The man had blood on both of his hands. He's defiant, even in the face of hard evidence. He's steadfastly refusing to admit that he might be mistaken about what he saw. But why? Your reasoning is dire. One hand or two, the salient point remains unchanged. Minutes after the grim crime, the victim's blood dripped guiltily from the accused fingers. However, I suppose you might say I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired, if that matters.
Hold it!
Don't try to downplay this. Whether or not you saw the exact moment of the crime is a matter of fundamental importance, as well you know. But for crying out loud, we all know that no one else could possibly have done it. I was just trying to save us all some time. You have a loan of 20 guineas outstanding with the defendant, do you not? Had you hoped to release yourself from that financial burden by ensuring the defendant was found guilty? Well, that's not entirely, not what I was hoping for. I just lost a little guinea or 10 when I backed the wrong horse in the Derby, that's all. I was gonna win it all back. There's a fixture this weekend that's a sure thing. A little guinea or 10? I'm a banker. No one bats an eye if I borrow a little spending money for the weekend. I think you may have revealed rather more about your character than you bargained for, sir. This witness's scruples are not on trial here. Proceed to the next witness. Is that really how it's supposed to work? I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both of the attacker's hands with blood on them.
Hold it!
You definitely saw that too. Blood on both hands? Yes, sir. I mean, I know what you're going to say. Only one of Mr. McGilded gloves has any signs of blood on it. That's right. The thing is, as far as I remember, sir, when I looked down and saw Mr. McGilded sitting beside the other fellow, I don't believe he was wearing any gloves, sir. He wasn't wearing these gloves? That's correct, sir. And I saw the blood on both of his bare hands quite clearly. It's true that the dark-colored stain on the dark leather gloves wouldn't have been easy to see. I should point out that the police officer who apprehended the accused on the night in question reported that there was no trace of blood on Mr. McGilded Glove's hands. There wasn't blood on his hands. Doesn't that just prove his innocence? This is puzzling indeed. This must be significant somehow, I'm sure of it. Yeah, it proves his innocence. Or it proves that, you know, he wasn't the one who got blood on his hands. I didn't actually see anything myself, no. Not until I heard that scream. You didn't see anything? Oh, yes, sir. That is to say, no, sir, I didn't. Very sorry about what I said before, sir. Very sorry, yes. It was very wrong of me to make up stories and say I saw him stab the man. Wouldn't you agree, sir?
Excuse me!
Oh, fuck. I did not mean to do that. I did not mean to do that there. Anyway, I gotta repress that statement. I was, like, looking for reactions because he looked over that way, and then I accidentally pressed A, which is the pursue button.
Hold it!
So, go through this, I know what you're insinuating, but I certainly wasn't making up stories. Still, to say you saw nothing isn't right either, is it? No, sir. I saw nothing at all. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Mr. Beppo, you were driving your horses. At the very least, you must have enjoyed a good view of London streets, no? God damn it. Oh, please. You didn't even see that? It was so cold that night, you see. It was all I could do to keep from passing out, sir. Yes, my head was fairly frozen solid. Sorry to say, sir. It would seem prudent to avoid travel on the last omnibus service of London's cold winter nights. Beppo! Poor Beppo. Anyway, the fact remains. There can't have been anyone else inside that carriage, or we all would have seen.
Hold it!
And everything you saw of the incident was through the skylight on the roof of the omnibus. That's right. It was fiercely cold that night. The glass wasn't frosted over. Oh yes, I remember it was shivering. It was so bitter. Which rather begs the question of why the pair of you were sitting on the roof deck in the first place. Well, I don't know about this young fellow, but I couldn't enter the cabin. Oh? Why not? It was locked from the inside. I tried knocking, but no one opened the door. It was locked? That's right. As a public bus service, for pity's sake. That's not what I call fair play. Yes, I had exactly the same experience. I tried knocking, but the gent inside just gestured at me to clear off. So I had no choice but to climb up to the roof deck and look down longingly into the warm cabin below. Well, I can assure you I wasn't just looking down. I was glaring, long and hard. And that's precisely why I can tell you with absolute confidence that if there was anyone else at all in that cabin, I would have noticed. Unequivocal, I would say. I'm not sure about these two witnesses. Could they really have seen everything inside the cabin through the skylight? Nope. Allow me to confirm one thing, Mr. Fairplay. You were riding this omnibus and witnessed the events in the cabin through the skylight in the floor of the upper deck. Is that right? That's right, yes. In that case, there's a portion of the cabin interior that would have been out of sight from you. What? By golly, really? Obviously, at this stage, we can't say for sure. But the possibility cannot be denied that at the time of the incident, there could have been another passenger in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus.
Objection!
Enough hypothetical meandering, my Nipponese friend. The prosecution demands that you substantiate your claims. After all, the scene of the crime is here, in the flesh. Very well, I will uphold the prosecution's demand. You will identify the area on this cross-sectional plan of the omnibus. Where exactly in the omnibus are you suggesting that this potential extra passenger could have been situated? Alright, so we'll make our save here, but when we were examining the skylight earlier, we could only see two seats. The blood of the victim was here. So, clearly, your line of sight is like that. I can't do straight lines, but like that. So, this part of the cabin is concealed from sight entirely.
Take that!
Both rows of seat on the roof face in the direction of travel, whereas the seats in the enclosed cabin face each other. Which means the visible part of the cabin, which passengers on the roof deck can see through the skylight, is as I've drawn here. That's right, my lord. As you can see, the seat opposite the one on which the victim and his attacker were sitting is obscured from view. In other words, if someone had been sitting on that seat, it's quite possible that these witnesses would have been completely unaware of it.
Objection!
Oh, I didn't even realize Ryunosuke was carrying Kazuma's sword. Damn. It's quite possible that some phantom was sitting there. You Nipponese have a forbidding habit of obscuring the truth with ambiguity. I concur with the prosecution's rejoinder. In a British court of law, evidence is paramount. I cannot entertain this conjecture, counsel. That is, unless you're able to put a name to the mysterious passenger to whom you allude. Yeah, I just didn't think we'd actually be carrying it ourselves into the courtroom. I mean, I like the touch, I think that's cool, but I didn't think we'd actually be carrying it on our person at this time. But I guess we didn't have a chance to put it away either, so makes sense. It makes sense. Can you, Mr. Naruhodo? Must honor a headband, bro. I honestly don't know. Who could it have been? Who could have been in the other seat, which was out of sight from the witnesses on the roof deck? I wasn't 100% sure, but I think I know. I understand, my lord. The defense would like to put forward a name. You are a fool. That response was a desperate attempt by a man who has no notion of his own limitations. A toast to hard lessons not yet learnt. He got a new glass, apparently. Let us not delay, counsel. The defense is still to name the passenger in the other seat. Damn, he slapped himself in the face 3 times today. This could be it. This could be the chance I'm waiting for to turn the trial in my favor. On that night, on the night of the murder, the person occupying the seat in the omnibus cabin that was obscured from view is Susato Mikotoba. No. It was Male Strongheart. It was Barrack von Zieks. It was definitely the prosecutor, guys. He did it. Well, you're actually going to take a penalty if you get this wrong in this case. But the answer is almost certainly Magnus McGilded. He was sitting in the seat opposite, and he drifted off to sleep.
Take that!
The passenger in the enclosed cabin that the witnesses on the roof deck failed to see has to have been Mr. Magnus McGilded. Mr. McGilded? What are you talking about, counsel? That's the name of the defendant.
Objection!
If I desecrate this chamber by smashing my hallowed chalice, do forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zieks. Dude, it must be a pain in the ass to clean up after this dude. It's like, holy shit, why is there so much broken glass and wine on the floor? Baron Von Zieks was here. God damn it. People talk of those tiny island nations in the Far East as having a learning and culture of their own. But I see they use the terms ill-advisedly. What are you trying to say? Let me explain in terms that even a student of an artless backwater such as yourself might understand. When the bloody scene unfolded, the victim and his assailant were sitting side by side. Multiple witnesses have attested to the fact. It is the very premise on which this case is built.
Objection!
But that premise may be wrong. What? If the victim really was sitting beside Mr. McGilded, it creates an inconsistency that can't be reconciled in any way. What inconsistency, counsel? The defendant's gloves, my lord. Both witnesses made the same testimony. They claim that there was blood on both hands of the person sitting next to the victim.
Objection!
Yet we know the truth to be otherwise. Only one glove bears the gory remains. The point is, even in the face of this irrefutable evidence, witnesses have maintained their stance. Yes, their testimony remains unchanged. Exactly. They both adamantly swear that they clearly remember seeing blood on both hands of the assailant. In short, their memory of events is correct, and their testimony reveals the truth. It was somebody else sitting beside the victim that night, a third party we've yet to identify. And the victim's blood was on that passenger's hands. Both of them.
Objection!
And who was this third party? Obviously, the true culprit. Extraordinary! Order! 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 What exactly are you postulating?
Objection!
The defense's postulation is just that. Nothing more than conjecture. The witnesses have clearly stated that they saw the accused.
Objection!
When elaborating on his testimony, Mr. Fairplay said the two of them were wearing hats, and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. Yes. The tops of their heads were obscured by the roof. I could see the rest of them, though. Yes, that's right. Both gents were most certainly hatted. Hatters do tend to notice such things, sir. And what particular styles of hat did the two gentlemen sport, Mr. First? I'm afraid I don't remember. And you call yourself a hatter? The style of hat makes no difference. There's no third passenger in that cabin. London is nothing if not hats. How can you be so sure? Because if there had been, the accused, Mr. McGilded, would undoubtedly have offered to depose the fact. Unless, that is, you are proposing an even more preposterous explanation. That the accused failed even to notice the presence of the true culprit in the very cabin in which he traveled. He's right. If there was another person traveling in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus, it's inconceivable that Mr. McGilded would have been unaware of it. Order! There's clearly a simple solution to this problem. Bring the accused, Mr. McGilded, to the stand. Well, what say you, counsel? Prosecution objects, my lord. On what grounds? As a suspect, he will have already made a full statement to the police. But what if there's some reason why he's unable to speak freely? Magnus McGilded is no uneducated ruffian. If it indeed turns out the man has been withholding information, you can be sure that it will have been a most deliberate act. Counsel for the defense, what is your opinion? My lord, should we ask Mr. McGilded to testify, or not? Pretty sure we need his testimony. We need to learn more about this case. Yes, we need to hear what he has to say in order to find out the truth. The defense would like to call Mr. McGilded to the stand. In that case, I would like to hear the opinion of the jury. Yes, I need a little time to consider this. If you ask me, I think we should hear what Mr. McGilded has to say. Get the man out here, I say! It would be utterly illogical not to hear his testimony. When something needs doing, get it done. That's how I run things at the guild. Hearing what the patron of my favorite little park has to say, oh yes, that would be lovely. Yes, the jury says the man must be heard. Very well. The court will hear the defendant's testimony. Bailiff, show the defendant to the stand at once. Ow. Now, maybe what actually happened that night will finally become clear. This is gonna get treacherous if he holds back, oh that's for sure. Let proceedings be resumed. Mr. McGilded, have you been listening to the discourse of the day? To be sure I have, my lord. There are now two matters on which the court desires to hear from you. The first is whether or not there was a third party with you in the omnibus cabin, as proposed by the defense. The second is that if such a person was indeed present, why did you conceal that fact from the police? Begad, no! It's not my nature to hide anything at all. Just answer the questions, please. Truth of the matter is, I've been desperate about this all along. Do I tells you all, I'll keep my mouth shut. Tell us what, Mr. McGilded? The fine fellow representing me is absolutely right. In the carriage on the night with myself and the other man, there was another passenger. It's true? Aye. It was me who helped the little urchin get away after all had happened. You... What? No. Magnus McGilded. That convenient excuse can't save you now. Well, I'm truly sorry, so I am, Lord Van Zeeks. I'm sure you'll be wanting to know why I said nothing when I was taken in by the police. I do be having a very good reason, I assure you. Which was... Well, the little child was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Not in any way involved, you see. What? If the police had known the wee one was there, they'd have assumed she'd done it. They'd have hauled her into this here courtroom, just like myself. I was only trying to spare her that. Young hearts and young minds are easily damaged, my lord. This doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. Are you telling me there was a sixth person in this cabin? I guess that's feasible. But... What the... I'm so confused. And who was this young child of whom you speak? That I don't know. You don't know? Well... The wee thing just happened to be in the carriage that night. I never saw her before since.
Objection!
We have absolutely no reason to believe this man. The prosecution calls for the witness's statements to be disregarded by the court. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the urchin isn't here in this courtroom as we speak, listening to the proceedings. What? What the fuck? Someone's trying to get away. After them. It's no use. I can't see anything through all the smoke. What's going on? Be careful, Mr. Naruhodo. Cover your face. Bailiff, don't let the accused escape. Secure the omnibus. I hereby call an emergency recess. Bailiff, ensure the defendant is in custody and clear the courtroom. What the hell? Somebody threw a freaking smoke bomb in here. We were hurriedly removed from the smoke-filled courtroom by the bailiff, amid scenes of chaos as people stumbled over one another in desperation to flee the chamber. We had no idea what was happening. All we knew was that, for the time being at least, the trial was suspended. Well, shit, that's one hell of a cliffhanger to end off on. What the fuck? This also does make for a good stopping point. My timer says an hour and 49 minutes, but I had a little hiccup earlier in the stream, so it's really closer to 3. But yeah, we're gonna call it an episode here, and we're gonna continue on with this trial next time. What the fuck? Why is this happening? We were about to get this. We're gonna find this dude innocent before he fucked everything up. What the hell? I am so confused. This is crazy. I'm loving this game so much. Oh man, it's been a lot of fun. So before I sign off, once again, thank you all for coming. Thank you very much, Crimson and Grumpy, for joining me throughout this entire stream. If you want to help support the channel, feel free to follow me on Twitch and YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. More tomorrow. Not 100% sure. We'll see what happens. If it is tomorrow, it might be late at night. Who knows? My schedule isn't quite set in stone yet, so I will make an announcement on various places if I am, so hopefully. Hopefully. But in any case, that'll be all for today. Have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you next time for some more great Ace Attorney. Until next time, toodaloo.